Imagine this for a second. What if you gave an AI a truly mind-bending challenge to document its own existence, to explain how it works, and to write a complete book about itself? Well, today we're going to pop the hood and see exactly how something like that even happens.
So how would AI even begin to tackle something like this? I mean, does it just start typing? Well, it's not quite that simple. The process is actually way more strategic and, believe it or not, more collaborative than you might think. Let's dig into the system that makes it all possible.
Okay, so the system we're talking about is called T20. And here's the key thing you need to know. It's not one giant single AI. Nope. Think of it more like a special ops team of AIs, where each one has a very specific job and they all work together to get the mission done.
And this was the mission. This was the big, high-level goal they gave the T20 system. And that is no small task, right? It's not just about spitting out words, it's about structuring, drafting, editing, the whole shebang to produce a coherent, high-quality book. So let's break this case study down.
So what's the very first thing the system does when it gets a huge task like this? It thinks. Before a single word of the book even gets written, the system's #1 job is to come up with a master plan.
And I love this because it's a direct quote from the system's own brain, the orchestrator agent. It literally reasons with itself, saying, okay, this is a big goal, we need to break it down into smaller, bite-sized pieces. It's basically acting as its own project manager from the get-go.
And here's the game plan it came up with. Super simple, totally logical, a 3-phase workflow. First, figure out the structure. Second, write the actual content. And third, review everything and make it better. This gives us a really clear roadmap for the whole project.
Now, this is what's so cool about the planning part. It's called dynamic planning. The orchestrator, which is an agent called Meta AI, doesn't just pull some pre-made template off a shelf. Nope. For every single new goal it gets, it generates a brand new, custom-tailored plan from scratch. That's what makes this whole T20 system so incredibly flexible and adaptable.
But the orchestrator doesn't work alone. Of course not. Once that plan is in place, it's time to assemble the team. It starts delegating all those tasks it just created to the specialized agents that are best suited for each job.
So let's meet the core team for this book writing project. You've got Meta AI as the project manager, the orchestrator calling the shots. Then you've got GPT-ASE. That's our author, the one doing the actual writing. And then there's Lyra, who's a bit of a multitasker. First, Lyra acts as a prompt engineer, writing crystal clear instructions for the other AIs. And then later, Lyra puts on an editor's hat to review all their work.
And check this out. This is a perfect example of that teamwork in action. The prompt engineer, Lyra, gives a super specific and clear instruction to the author agent. It's not just, hey, write the intro. It's a detailed brief that lays out exactly what concepts need to be covered in Chapter 1.
And voila, here's the result. The author agent GPT-SE takes that prompt and just nails it, producing this clear, concise paragraph that directly hits every single point from Lyra's instructions. You can see this perfect, traceable line from instruction to output.
But hey, as any writer knows, writing is really just rewriting, right? The T20 system doesn't just generate some text and call it a day. It has this built-in quality control process, a feedback loop, where it can critically review and actually improve its own work. Look at this. The editor, Lyra again, spots a real structural problem. It says, hey, there's too much overlap between these two chapters, it's redundant. That's a pretty sophisticated critique. And in response, the author agent doesn't just say, okay, it comes back with a concrete action plan, laying out exactly how it's going to fix the problem by reorganizing the content. So you see, it's this iterative loop, this back and forth of drafting, getting feedback, and refining, that's so important. It's actually very similar to how a human writing team works together to create something really polished. This ability to self-correct is what turns the system's output from just raw text into a genuinely coherent book.
All right, so let's zoom out for a second. We've just watched this entire process unfold, from the initial idea all the way to the final revision. So what have we learned? What does this all reveal about the real strengths of having a multi-agent AI system?
It really boils down to these 3 massive strengths. First, adaptability, because it creates a custom plan for any task you throw at it. Second, intelligence, which comes from the collaboration between specialized agents and having an expert to optimize their instructions on the fly. And finally, transparency. Every single step, every instruction, every output is logged, giving you a complete, auditable trail of how the final thing got made. At the end of the day, this isn't just about an AI writing a book. This example is way bigger than that. It's a powerful blueprint. It shows us a whole new model for tackling really complex, multi-step problems, not just in writing, but maybe in software development, in scientific research, and who knows what else.
And that really leaves us with a fascinating question to chew on, doesn't it? We just saw a team of AIs plan, write, and edit a whole book. So, if they can master that, what kind of complex challenges will a system like this be able to build or create or solve for us next?